All right, Shalom. Before I begin this lesson, I want to give all honor, praise, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha Kodash, for giving me the spirit to do this lesson, and Lord willing, this is edifying to the elect of Israel. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone who rule well. They are the leaders of all Israelites in these end times, showing us the correct way to salvation, and you be wise to follow them. So, Shalom to you, Akwaf, in order, meaning you Israelite sisters in order. Shalom to you, brothers teachings. Shalom to all of you listening and learning. Shalom to you Israelites that look like these other races of people, but your seed line goes back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, making you a Hebrew Israelite regardless of your appearance, because this thing ain't about color. It is about the chosen seed line. And as you can see in this image, it says it's about the seed line of the Father, not skin color. And this is very important for you to know. And the reason, the Lord put the Spirit on me to do this is because, the Lord put the Spirit on me to do this. And, the reason is because I stumbled upon a clip of Deacon Hakar. And, he's been in the spotlight lately. He's been going off on his doctrine and caught up in scandals and rumored to step down. I just did the lesson on it. But now I've come across something where he's basically showing that he's a carnal-minded leader. He's not a spiritual leader. He's not a spiritual man. And he's leading his congregation to destruction, okay? He's leading them down a path of destruction, okay? Because he's deceiving his congregation. He's not teaching them the spiritual aspect of the Holy Bible. The Bible is a very spiritual book. And if you're not of the elect, you're not going to see it in a spiritual way. You're going to read it and you're not going to understand the mysteries, okay? You got to understand it is very spiritual what we're involved in. It's not carnal. You don't judge according to appearance, okay? Right, let me go ahead and bring out this first scripture I want to read right here. John, the book of John, chapter 7 and 24. It says, "Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment." So we're allowed to judge, but we got to judge righteously. We can't judge somebody according to their appearance, meaning you can't look at a so-called white man and just automatically dismiss him as an Edomite. You got to get out the habit of doing that. A lot of other camps do that. I've seen it. And I'm about to prove to you with the clip I'm about to show you that Deacon Hakar, formerly of Sakari, then the Genesis, I think it's just called Genesis. But, this man is... he's leading people astray. And, in this clip, you're going to see how he views so-called white people and how he ridicules them and just dismisses them based on appearance as being an Edomite. Okay, this man is very carnal and he's very dangerous. So we don't judge according to the appearance. All right, this is the book of Leviticus, chapter 19 and verse 5. That's not 5, it's 15. Salakia. So, Leviticus 19 and 15, it says, "Ye shall do no unrighteousness in judgment." So, for those that say we're not allowed to judge, you can't judge me. Only God can judge me. Well, this proves that we're allowed to judge, but we must judge righteously, okay? It says, "Ye shall do no unrighteousness in judgment." It says, "Thou shalt not respect the person of the poor, nor honor the person of the mighty, but in righteousness shalt thou judge thy neighbor." Okay, so that's self-explanatory. But the point is that you cannot judge according to appearance. That's not righteous, man. All right. Now, what I'm going to do, before I go any further, I want to play this clip that I'm referring to. Okay, and as you see, the one on the left is the lighter one. You would, if you ran into her in public, you would assume that was a white woman, right? I know she's a celeb. I forget her name though, and the one on the right, I forget her name too. But the one on the right, you would assume is a Jake based on appearance, right? With the woolly hair, the darker skin, you know. Well, she's light skinned, but darker than the one on the left. And you would just, based on appearance, you would think that's an Israelite. That's a sister. That's one of the Aquaf. Nah, man. That's a heathen. That's a whole ass heathen right there, man. Excuse my language, but you know, it ain't based on appearance. If you're judging on appearance, you're going to be deceived, man. That's deceptive. It says here, it's not about color, the color of your skin, but rather, are you of the seed of the children of Yahweh? On the left, Edomite. On the right, Israelite. And both roughly similar in color. Obviously, the one on the right is darker. But they're both brown skin. They're both, you would look at both of them and think that they were Israelites just based on, you know, appearance. This is why it's deceptive to judge according to appearance, because the one on the left, her seed line, goes back to Esau, and the one on the right goes back to an Israelite, which is the chosen seed line. Okay, so it's not about color. And you know, I'll break this down further, you know, explain to you further as we go along in this lesson. But for first, let's play this this guy right here, man, this deceiver. Check this out, man. Okay, so you see I'm not making nothing up. This is a recording that he did of a Great Millstone camp. And you have someone that looks like a so-called white man teaching what we teach, the 100% truth, the correct doctrine. And he decides to attack him because, you know, Deacon Akar don't sleep. You know, we're living rent-free in his head 24/7. This man is constantly trying to dig up dirt on Great Millstone. Okay, and as of late, you know, he's been, you know, you got Alazar chopping and screwing videos or showing videos that have been chopped and screwed, basically trying to demonize Great Millstone, taking certain clips and chopping it and bringing it out of, you know, bringing it out of context, you know, if that's the right way of saying it, you know, it's out of context, man. But anyway, let me go ahead and play this, man. Check this out.
That also needs to make 44,000. That also needs to make you appreciate this truth more.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't a damn thing you did to be part of the elect.
Yeah.
You didn't. Well, he's just an outstanding man. Make him of the 12,000 of Judah. That's not what happened. The Lord literally created the spirits in the beginning and had them go out to the planet. So you could have easily been a 2/3 nigga. If you didn't come across that Facebook post or come across that camp in Atlanta or wherever it was at, you would have still been a nigga, man, doing the same shit. You would have been part of that. You would have been hearing about yourself getting destroyed.
Come on.
So be grateful, man. 44,000. That also needs to make you appreciate.
So let me pause it there. So I screen recorded it so I can, you know, normally I would download it, but I wanted to show you the comments, so I screen recorded it. But you know, obviously, Deacon is carnally minded, being that he would post this to get a kick out of his, you know, to entertain his fans, his groupies. And, you know, as you would guess on the comment board, it's nothing but bug outs disrespecting the ones that have the truth. Check this out, man.
Yeah. Because there wasn't a damn thing you did to be part of the elect.
Yeah.
You didn't. Well, he's just an outstanding man. Make him of the 12,000 of Judah. That's not what happened.
See, the thing is, right, one thing I forgot to mention is that Deacon probably did this because he's triggered that he would hear the word nigger come out of a person's mouth that looks like a so-called white man. But as you can see, the Jakes beside him aren't triggered by it because they know that that's a brother. That's a brother. If a so-called black man says the word nigger, we ain't gonna bat an eye, okay? And it's the same with the Mexicans, the so-called Mexicans, you know, a lot of the Latin tribes. It's because in the spirit, we know there are people. Ain't nobody gonna, Cardi B's loud ass, ain't nobody gonna say to her, you can't say nigger, if she says nigger in a room full of so-called black people. They're not gonna look at her like, I can't believe she just said that. Because they know in the spirit, that's our people, okay? But she's, what's she at? Ephraimite, I believe. Anyway, go ahead and play this. Check out the comments, man.
Lord literally created the spirits in the beginning and had them go out to the planet. So you could have easily been a 2/3 nigga. If you didn't come across that Facebook post or come across that camp in Atlanta or wherever it was at, you would have still been a nigga, man, doing the same shit. You would have been part of that. You would have been hearing about yourself getting destroyed. So be grateful, man. 44,000.
See, these people hate camps. This guy talking about blah, blah, blah. I refuse to argue with a camper. All right. So they a lot of these people just, they hate camps, but yet, Genesis is part of a camp. Why ain't Deacon rebuking that guy? It's because he likes the fame and the recognition and the respect of the world, man. So he's more about saving face in the in the world's eyes rather than teaching the truth and defending the gospel, man.
That also needs to make you appreciate this truth more. Yeah. Because there wasn't a damn thing you did to be part of the.
And Yahweh Shai was in a camp. Okay. He probably don't even believe in Yahweh Shai, this guy. Talking about camps, man. I mean, people dissing camps. There's nothing wrong with camps. We're supposed to be in a camp. The prophets in the end times are going to be in a camp. Says that all through the scriptures, man. Come on. Where you been?
Yeah. You didn't, he's just an outstanding man. Make him up to 12,000.
So yeah, that's that anyway. All right. So let's go to the scriptures, right? I want to bring this out in the book of John, chapter 10 and 27. It's John 10 and 27. It says, "My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me." Okay, so if somebody hears this gospel and receives it and understands it, regardless of what they look like, they're an Israelite because they hear the voice of Yahweh Shai, which is the truth, the 100% truth. So if they follow the truth and they're not going off according to doctrine and they're showing the fruits of the Spirit, then they're an Israelite. We don't have to take no DNA test. That's not how this thing works, okay? Otherwise, we'll never find out who's the Israelites and who's not. If we did it that way, carnally. That's carnal. That's being carnal, man. We're spiritual men up here, and we judge through the Spirit. We can tell that this is our brother through the Spirit. My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. See? Those are the ones the Lord has his eyes on, the ones that have the doctrine, the ones that contain the gospel within them, man. It says in verse 28, it says, "And I give them," Salakia. It says, "And I give unto them eternal life, and they shall never perish, neither shall any man pluck them out of my hand, because they're of the elect." Okay? So it's all spiritual. You have to understand that, man. Let's go to the book of Daniel. All right, I'm gonna try and fly through this as quick as I can because I know sometimes I tend to drag my lessons on, man. It's 12 and 10, not 10 and 12. All right, so I'm not gonna read 8 and 9 because I wanna speed this up and get to the point. I've got camp in the morning. All right. It says, Daniel 12 and 10, "Many shall be purified and made white and tried." This is in the end times. It says, and that means that they're going to be cleaned up through this gospel. Okay. It says, "But the wicked shall do wickedly." Okay. So the wicked ain't going to change. And that's not just talking about Esau, Edom. It means the wicked of our people too, or the wicked of any heathen nation. None of them are going to understand, and they're going to do what they do, which is being carnal, living in the flesh, living according to pleasure, getting the most they can out of this world. They ain't going to follow the Lord. They ain't going to pick up this Bible and get out there on the street corners and teach. It takes faith to do that. Ain't no heathen got faith like that, okay? It says, "Many shall be purified and made white and tried, but the wicked shall do wickedly." They ain't going to change. It says, and none of the wicked shall understand. See? But the wise shall understand. Okay? So the wise are the Israelites. Point blank, period. Ain't no heathen counted as wise. I mean, it don't mean that they can't do wise things, but this is specifically talking about the Israelites, okay? So they're the ones that understand this. The wicked can't understand this. None of the wicked shall understand, it says. So according to Deacon, he believes that this man is the wicked. Because we know the Edomites are the wicked. He believes that this is an Edomite. Okay? And if he comes at me saying, where did I say it? I believe he's an Edomite. Come on, don't play semantics. Don't play dumb with us, man. Okay? We know what you're up to, and we know why you posted this, okay? Because you wholeheartedly believe that that is an Edomite, Deacon. Regardless if those exact words, if that quote came out of your mouth or not, you believe that that's an Edomite. Otherwise, you wouldn't have posted that, and you wouldn't have, allowed the reaction that you got. You wanted that reaction because it's all based on trying to demonize Great Millstone. You're reaching. You was really reaching with that video, Deacon. Nice try, okay? But you could do nothing against the truth but for the truth, because now I'm doing a lesson and people are going to be edified through this, man. Okay? And hopefully former Sakari members or former followers of you when in your Genesis camp, little Heckle and Jekyll, man. Hopefully people will start to see that Great Millstone have the truth, because you've left your congregation high and dry, man. Where they going to go now? A lot of them might come to us, if they're wise. If there was some of the elect in your camp. All right. Let's go to the book of Romans. Let's go to Romans chapter 8 again. And let's go to 16. This is Romans 8, starting at 16. I'm going to read through 17. It says, the Spirit itself beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of the Most High. So it's a spiritual thing, man. Okay? If their spirit resonates with ours, we're going to know. Okay? And we're going to know if somebody's a Jake, even if they don't contain the gospel, if they don't have the light, the breath, if they don't have the truth. All right? We're going to know if they're a Jake. We can just tell our people, man. Okay? So the Spirit itself is a spiritual thing, man. The spirits don't lie. It says the Spirit itself beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of the Most High, the Israelites. It's a spiritual thing. This is how you tell. It says, and if children, then heirs of the Most High. It says, and joint heirs with the anointed. Okay, meaning we're inheritors of the kingdom. It says, and rulership. It says, if so be that we suffer with him, that we may be also glorified together. And from what I can see, this is a form of suffering with the Lord, man. What this brother right here, this ginger brother's doing. Okay. So a lot of you may say, oh, can't be. Look at him. He's pure white. He's even ginger. You may think that's the Edomite of all Edomites, but no, man, that's a Jake. Okay. I'm going to further prove in this lesson. Okay. I got more precepts. Let's go ahead and bring out Malachi. Oops. Let's go to Malachi 1 and 14. This is Malachi 1 and 14. It says, but cursed be the deceiver which have in his flock a male, and voweth and sacrificeth unto the Lord a corrupt thing. It says, for I am a great king, saith Yahweh of hosts, which is the Most High of armies. It says, and my name is dreadful among the heathen. Okay, see, so the heathen aren't going to have the name of the Lord, okay? It doesn't mean they can't utter it with their lips, okay? Because anybody can say Yahweh Shai or Yahweh. So it doesn't mean that, they can't say it. They don't use it. they call on Yahuwah, they call on Jesus. You got all the heathen calling on those names, proving that they don't have the correct names. And the name is very important, man. But this brother has the name. This brother right here, this ginger brother right here, he's got the name. Okay? Because he's not a heathen. Let me read that again. Let me just read the last part, because that's the point. It says, "For I am a great king, saith Yahweh of hosts, and my name is dreadful among the heathen." See? Okay, that goes into his image. You know, that's part of his name. You know, what he stands for, who he, the core essence of who he is, man. That's his name. You know, it's not just his name, it's the doctrine, man. What he's, you know, the truth of Yahushai. And he possesses that. Otherwise, he wouldn't be out there teaching. And if he was out there trying to teach, he would get sniffed out immediately if he was a heathen, man. Because he's around ancient men. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 34 and 16. It says, "Seek ye out the book of Yahweh and read." That's what we're commanded to do. It says, "None of these shall fail," right? Talking about the prophecies. They're all going to come to pass because the word is true. It says, "None shall want her mate." So you don't need other books to validate that the Holy Bible is, you know, trustworthy. It says, "For my mouth it hath commanded, and his spirit it hath gathered them." Okay, so the point is that the Spirit has gathered, you know, the prophets in these end times. The Spirit of the Lord has gathered us. You know, the elect are gathered through the Spirit, which is through the word of the Lord, the pure doctrine, the 100% truth. It's gathered the prophets together. Okay. So moving on, let's go to another clip. Okay. As a matter of fact, I want to bring out, how could I forget this? This is very important for you to understand. Before I bring out this clip that I want to show you, check this out, man. This is Numbers 1 and 18 proving. This is where the Bible proves that it's according to the seed of the Father. Okay. Very famous precept that we use. Okay. And it says, "And they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month. And they declared their pedigrees," right, which is their lineage. Pay attention. They declared their pedigrees by what? DNA test? No. It says, "And they declared their pedigrees, their lineage, after their families by the house of their fathers." See? Because the seed runs through the father. If you read the book of Matthew, starting at 1. You know, I'll flip to that in just a sec. But let me finish this real quick. It says, "By the house of their fathers, according to the number of the names, from 20 years old and upward by their polls." So the point is that, you know, they declare their pedigrees, their lineage, by the house of their fathers, man. It's through the seed of the father. This is how you can tell who is an Israelite. Let me go ahead and show you what I was going to show you in the book of Matthew. Because if you go to the book of Matthew, chapter 1, start at verse 1, and you read all of that down to 16. So if you read 1 through 16, it's got the lineage of of Abraham's seed. It's basically got the lineage of the children of Israel. Okay. Or starting from Abraham all the way to Yahushai. See? And you notice the reason I wanted to bring this out is because it doesn't have any women. All of these names here, okay, is referring to the men. Okay, that's who carries the seed. It doesn't say that such and such a woman begat such and such. No, the men begat. The seed begat, okay? The father begat, because the seed line runs through the father. Hopefully, you know, you can understand where I'm coming from. So let me go ahead and bring out this clip that I wanted to show you. further proving what I'm talking about when it goes, when it's the lineage according to the seed of the father. Check this out, man.
Half black, my biological I am half black. My biological father is African American. I'm gonna break it down for you because I know what you're thinking. This girl is insane. There's no way. She has green eyes, very light skin, and blonde hair. Like, there's
Yeah, so just looking at her, you would think, even the hair is real thin and stringy and blonde. You would look at her and you would automatically say, yeah, white girl. Nah, man, that's one of us right there, okay? That's our peoples, yo. See? You see how when you come into the knowledge of the truth, how it changes your whole reality, your whole perception of this world. It puts everything into perspective. It makes a lot more sense, man. Okay, let me go ahead and play it.
very light skin and blonde hair. Like, there's no way. Growing up as a kid, I always got, that's your stepdad, you must be adopted. This video is honestly for educational purposes to just let you know, like, people can look like me and be mixed. So let me break it down and show you my parents.
Yeah, she said mixed, and that's what the world calls, somebody that's got different races, two parents of different races. They call themselves mixed. But there's no such thing as mixed, okay? You are who your father is. You may be mixed in the sense that you have, different races when it comes to mother and father, but you're not really considered mixed according to your nationality. Your nationality is whoever your father is.
Alrighty, here is me and my dad. Alrighty, here is me and my dad. This is my dad. His name is Lance. Here's another photo. It's kind of blurry, but yes, he raised me my entire life from when
See, now, like I said, we don't know if her father is a Jake, but just assuming he is. Let's just assume he is, right? Because I don't know who his father goes back to. She could still be an Edomite. But let's just assume he's a Jake. Well, that's his kid. And that's his seed. He's given birth to an Israelite, regardless of what nationality the mother is. The mother is an incubator. The man carries the seed. The man carries life. That's why the sperm swims. The sperm has life. The egg doesn't. Okay. The man determines the gender and the nationality, man.
I came out the womb. Here is another photo of us when I was younger. And this is my mom, so I definitely took after, like, her skin tone, her hair. I'm looking like a weird-ass little baby in this pic, but this is my mom, again. Here is her when she was in her teenage years. So yeah, those are my parents. My dad actually had a paternity test after I was born. Not because he thought my mom was cheating, but just to make sure, because I did come out looking super fair, which is absolutely hilarious, honestly. I will say that when people...
Yeah, so, yeah, that's that. So, yeah, man, you can't judge according to appearance because it ain't about appearance, all right? You have to understand this. That's why I'm doing this lesson, okay? To really drive it home and show you what the scriptures say, okay? This is the book of 1 John, chapter 4 and verse 13. Let's highlight that real quick. All right, so we're just going to read that. 1 John 4 and 13. Hereby know we that we dwell in him, and he in us, because he hath given us of his Spirit. See? So, if the Lord is with us, if we dwell with the Lord and the Lord dwells with us, then we know because of, we're all going to have the same spirit. We're all going to be in the same spirit, which is, death to Esau, Edom. He's the root of the problem in the world. America's going to be destroyed by nuclear fire. We're going to have the same spirit, and it's going to drive us to get out there on the streets and teach. Okay, we're possessed. We have no control over ourselves. We do what we do because the Lord has us doing it, man. None of us chose to do this. None of us grew up and said we're going to come out here and teach. The Lord gave us His Spirit, and then we did what we're commanded, man. Point blank, period. And He's not going to give His Spirit to a heathen. Okay, this is the book of 1 Corinthians. Salakia 2 and 14. Right? 1 Corinthians 2 and 14. But the natural man receiveth not the things of the Spirit of the Most High, for they are foolishness unto him. Neither can he know them, because they are spiritually discerned. Okay, so that a natural man, which is a carnal man, can't receive the spiritual things of the Bible. You know, when it comes to so-called UFOs, they'll think that's ridiculous. They won't be able to receive the name of the Lord in most cases. You know, they're carnal people. They look at the Bible in a carnal way, man. Okay. That's why Deacon Akar thinks that, you know, when people are cast into the lake of fire, that the angels are literally going to pick them up and throw them in there by their ankles. Cast them in there. He thinks casting into the lake of fire means physically throwing them in there. That's what he thinks. That's crazy, man. That's a carnal man right there. That's the way a carnal man would think. You know? We know who the true men of the Lord are, man. Okay, because they have our spirit. So it says, but the natural man, a carnal man, receiveth not. He can't receive the things of the Spirit of the Most High, for they are foolishness unto him. See? He's here thinking that guy's an Edomite teaching in Great Millstone. That's foolishness to him, seeing an Edomite amongst us, man. I mean, seeing a so-called white man amongst us. That's foolishness to him. It says, neither can he know them, right? Talking about the things of the Spirit of the Most High. Neither can he know them, because they are spiritually discerned. See? You have to have the Spirit to discern these things. You know, you have to, if you ain't got the Spirit of the Lord, you can't unlock the mysteries, man. Point blank, period. It says in verse 15, it says, but he that is spiritual, which is the elect, judgeth all things, proving yet again that we're allowed to judge, but we must judge righteously. It says, yet he himself is judged of no man. Why? Because we're the righteous judges, man. We're the ones the Lord chose to be the judges. You can't judge a judge. The judge is the judge. Yeah. You really gotta understand what I'm saying. All right. This is the book of Romans, chapter 8, starting at 5. We're going to read through 9. It says, for they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh. See? And Deacon Hakar is proven with this clip that he thought he was winning. He thought he had us releasing this one. All he did is, you know, further cause a stumbling block for those that are not of the elect. That's all he did. But he didn't affect the elect. The elect are sealed. They won't be deceived by this trickery, this deception coming from Deacon Akar, man. They're going to see through the lies because they're spiritually minded. It says, for they, Romans 8 and 5, for they that are after the flesh, which is Deacon Akar, do mind the things of the flesh. Oh, he looks like a white boy. He must be a white boy. He must be an Edomite. He's after the flesh, man. It says, but they that are after the Spirit, which is the elect, the things of the Spirit. See, we mind the things of the Spirit, man. This man knows the Bible. It lines up with Scripture that he is one of us. So verse 6, it says, for to be carnally minded is death, Deacon. Okay, you don't want to follow Deacon, man. He's on the road to death. It says, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. Okay, because they're of the elect, the ones that see through the Spirit. They see things spiritually. They have their so-called third eye open, so to speak. So verse 7, it says, because the carnal mind is enmity against the Most High. You're warring against the Most High if you're carnally minded, man. You're not in league with the Lord. It says, for it is not subject to the law of the Most High, neither indeed can be. Okay, because it wars against the truth. They're opposites, man. Just like the opposite ends of a magnet, okay? Or they repel each other. Or the same sides or whatever. So verse 8, it says, so then they that are in the flesh cannot please the Most High. Okay, that means if you're living, not according to the Spirit, you're living according to the flesh, because we're all in the flesh, but the elect are pleasing the Most High. All right, so that's not talking about being in the flesh. It just means if you're living according to the flesh. It says in verse 9, but ye are not in the flesh, but in the Spirit, see? It says, if so be that the Spirit of the Most High dwell in you. It says, now if any man have not the Spirit of the Anointed, he is none of his. See, because Deacon don't follow Yahushai. Yahushai doesn't know Deacon, man. Okay, unless he repents. If that's the outcome of his story, because he's a certain Deacon is a certain character that has a role to play in the Lord's movie, man. And if you can't see what his character is, you think that he's all of a sudden gonna have a miraculous change. If you can't see who he was set up to be, then you're just carnally minded. You're not seeing things clearly. You're not seeing things through the spiritual lenses, man. This is what we're trying to get through to you. It's more than just reading the pages on the book, man. You have to apply it, and you have to understand it. With all that get understanding, man. So I got one more scripture I want to bring out, and this is the book of Titus, chapter 1 and 10. And we're just going to read 10 through 11. Titus 1 and 10, it says, for there are many unruly and vain talkers and deceivers, especially they of the circumcision. Okay, meaning them that have the truth. Or them that, not them that have the truth, but them that know they're Israelites, let's just say. Okay, that's them of the circumcision. It says, whose mouths must be stopped. So the Lord is going to shut Deacon up if he hasn't already. It looks like he has, but we'll see. But the Lord is going to shut them up either way eventually, man. These people that are teaching false teachings. It says, whose mouths must be stopped, who subvert whole houses, teaching things which they ought not, for filthy lucre's sake. So he's doing it for clout, clicks, likes. This is how he stays relevant, is by, bringing up disputes between Great Millstone and him, and throwing shots at Great Millstone, not according to doctrine. They're not rebuking according to doctrine. In most cases, they're just trying to slander our name and try to, they do what wicked people do. If they can't get you one way, they'll try and throw your name under the, throw dirt on your name. That's what they try to do, man, because they're carnally minded, man. Because they're carnally minded. Right? It says, filthy lucre. They're teaching things they ought not for filthy lucre's sake, which means dirty money, man. Dirty cash. Okay? And Deacon is all about the money. Especially, the things that his wifey, his rebellious wifey is bringing out. We know that Deacon is a man that he serves mammon. He doesn't serve the Lord. You can't serve both. He serves money, man. Right, I got one more clip I want to show you, and then we'll close it out. And I want to show you this because I believe this woman to be a jade, man. And I'm not saying that everybody that can dance that looks like a so-called white person is a Jake, but Sometimes you could just see it's undeniable, man. Jake has a certain way about them. Check this. You would look at her and say she's not a Jake, and she still might not be. I'm not saying she is just based on her dancing, but I believe her to be. That's just me thinking as a man. Check this out, man. Now you got to remember that Daniel chapter 4 and 17 says that the Lord set up over the world the basest of men. The Edomites are known as the basest of men, and ain't no base man dancing like this. I'm sorry. That ain't no Edomite to me. Okay, because that ain't base behavior. Edomites can't dance. We all know that. It's not in their blood. But, yeah, I just believe her to be a Jake. Anyway, Lord willing, you've been edified by this lesson. Don't let these false prophets deceive you, okay? Because they're teaching things they ought not, man, and their mouths must be stopped. To be carnally minded is death, okay? That's the ways of death. Shalom.